everybody. This is Nina G, and today is May 25th, 2002, and this is another edition of the Comedy Time Capsule. Today, I have Josh Argyle. Hi, Josh. How are you?
Hey, Nina. I'm great. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
My name is Josh. I am a comic in the Bay Area. And, Jesus, I don't even know who I am anymore. That's awful.
Why is that? Wow. Why don't you know who you are?
I haven't done anything in so long. It's at this point, I'm a guy who watches The Simpsons with my girlfriend.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm happy you're here, even if that's what you do. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about like pre-COVID and then what you're doing now and what you think the future is.
Certainly.
So can you tell me a little bit about how you started to get into comedy and why?
I was always kind of a funny kid, and our whole, like, I grew up in Eureka, and our whole, like, kind of class is kind of mean, kind of ball-breaking people. So I grew up around a lot of funny people. And I went to college and did improv for 6 years, and I found stand-up and just fell in love with it.
And so how long have you been doing stand-up?
Probably about 9 years.
9 years? Yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah, I think we started close to the same time.
Yeah. I just did 10 years, so yeah. And did you start in Humboldt?
No, I started in San Francisco at the Brainwash, like everybody else.
Okay. All right. Excellent. And can you say a little bit about what your typical week would look like before all of this?
My typical week, I would usually go to work. I work in an elementary school. I would go to work from like 7:30 to about 1:40. And I would come home, hang out with my girlfriend Amanda, play games. And then I would usually head out to the city and do comedy, either do a show or catch a couple open mics and work stuff out.
And so you would do like, cause you live in Santa Rosa?
I live in, Roanoke Park. Same thing.
Roanoke Park. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you would do mics in San Francisco, but also there and elsewhere too?
Yeah. There was some decent open mics in the North Bay scene that actually have audience, which is really cool. But yeah, I'd mostly be in the city most days a week.
Okay. Were you making any kind of a living in comedy? Was it paying any bills?
It was supplemental. It paid for a lot of unnecessary, like, fun stuff. It paid for a lot of like trips and a lot of like the visits to things. Mm-hmm. Okay. Not a living, but a supplement.
Yeah. Okay. Before COVID, what was your process in writing material? Because the one thing about you, and I've told you this, because when I appreciate something of someone, I like to tell them. The thing that I always appreciate about you is that you have something new every time, whether it's on stage at the punchline, or whether it's at an open mic, or whether it is at the Hearth, wherever it is, Josh always has something new. So what is your process in that?
I do a lot of dumb things. I say yes to a lot of stuff, which leads me into a lot of, not adventures is the wrong word, but just a lot of places where I'm out of place. And with writing, I wish I could sit down and write. That would be so awesome. But once I write something, it automatically becomes the least funny thing in the world to me. So I usually just kind of either work it out I'll have an idea and then just kind of try to work it out on stage, like at an open mic.
And so, so say more about that out of place thing. What's that mean?
I say yes to a lot of experiences that I wouldn't usually say yes to. Like, I'll go on a lot of like things with my girl, like that I went rose petal picking, like before the whole thing happened. Just dumb shit that I normally wouldn't say yes to. I'll go on and something usually funny happens.
Okay, so like those saying yes to stuff kind of leads you to inspiration, and then those lead.
Yeah, I find that being out and doing stuff and getting out of your comfort zone, even if it's just a little bit out of it, either will lead to material or leads your brain into kind of working and maybe minding something else.
Okay. And how much, because when I see you do new stuff, it seems to work. Does that stay in for your full half hour or however long you might do, or is it just stuff that you visit and then that's it?
If it works and it works consistently, I make it into the rotation of stuff that I do at shows. If it works and then doesn't work again, I usually shelve it and until I can come back to it and see maybe I have the skills to work it out now and make it consistent, or if not, I just throw that shit away.
Okay. Because you always have new stuff, so it's always impressive.
What's
that?
I'm super like, what's the word? I have not ADD, but I have a very short attention span.
And so you get bored with your own stuff?
I get bored with my own stuff all the goddamn time.
Okay. And so have you been writing since the quarantine and the pandemic and all that?
I've got a couple of new things, but nowhere near the amount of stuff that, I would do when it wasn't this. There's no really new experiences to have. You're, just kind of chilling,
Yeah, and then that's exactly what I was just going to ask, is that if the new experiences are the things that inspire you and there's no new experiences, nothing, huh?
Very little, some kind of topical stuff. I'm not really a topical type person, but some kind of, just to exercise that muscle. But yeah, I haven't written something new that I'm like kind of proud of since the thing.
Okay. And when you write it, because you said that the thing that ruins it is like putting pen to paper.
Yeah.
Where are you writing it in your head? Are you putting it on Facebook? What are you doing with it?
I'll make a little kind of a bullet point of it, like in my phone of a note. And then other than that, it's all in my head.
It's all in your head. Okay. Interesting. What was your favorite part about doing comedy and your least favorite part?
My favorite part, I think probably like everybody else, is getting on stage and making people laugh, and then kind of, especially after you have a good set, hanging out after and, shooting the shit with everybody. And my worst part is kind of everything that doesn't have to do with comedy, whether it's networking or, just, I don't know. I always hate messaging people for shows. I always feel weird. I know that's a necessary thing, but I always feel like I'm being a needy little ass.
Mm-hmm. And where did you get most of your bookings when you did work?
There was a lot of stuff I would do through bookers up here in the North Bay. There's a lot of like goofy one-nighters you can do out in Ukiah and stuff that actually pay really good. And then, I'd get most of them from like, the comedy community in the Bay Area.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Have you done any Zoom shows or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I've done a couple. They're okay. It's nowhere near. It can't even like scratch the surface of what's doing stand-up is. But
what's the difference? Can you tease that apart?
I think it's the directness. I think it's the actual human to human contact, because in theory, if it's just the jokes, doing Zoom shows should be no different, but it's completely different. It's it's just weird. It's, it's whatever. It's fun. It's, it's like the methadone of comedy. Like it'll get you through. It's not, it's not the pure raw uncut, dope that you need.
Mm-hmm. And so you said it's at human to human contact. So you're saying the little bit of laughs that you get in a delayed joke that you do, or the chat just doesn't do it for you? What is it about that human interaction in the audience?
I think it's an energy thing. I think, comics kind of feed off the crowd's energy. And I think it's very hard to get that energy, you know, via Zoom, via any other format, you know. It's just tricky. Like I've done a Zoom show where it was comics and we were on a green screen and we were kind of together and basically doing stand up for kind of nobody and on a Zoom, and then all the audience was on Zoom. And it was cool, but it wasn't, you know, it was just odd.
Do you feel that there is there a purpose to those? Like, can you write and develop stuff, or is it just like, you're just not going to get what you want from it?
I think there can be a purpose. At this point, I'm not really getting what I want from it. It's, you know, I'm not a huge tech guy, so I'm kind of a dummy with that stuff. So, you know, me getting not what I want out of it's on me. But yeah, I just don't know how to crack that code and get what I want from Zoom shows.
Yeah. Are you motivated to try to crack that code, or how are you going to spend the rest of this?
I'm kind of motivated to do it. You know, I take some Zoom bookings and try to work stuff out, you know. But other than that, I'm just kind of, you know, trying to work on other, you know, creative muscles, whether it's, you know, writing dumb like spec scripts or shooting sketches or, you know, learning how to video edit better.
Yeah, so tell me about that stuff. What have you been doing in place of comedy?
I finished a spec script, which is it's a good exercise. Took me forever, and it's real tough to do. I thought it was going to be easy. Real tough.
What was tough about it? Tell us about the process.
For a spec script, it's usually a script for like a show that you watch. And so I watch mostly cartoons, so I had to do a spec script for a show. Like I watch, me and my girl watch American Dad a lot, so I did a spec script for that. And it's hard because you have to analyze the characters, which, you know, I'm not that deep into any show to analyze the characters and to be able to go, all right, this is what they would say in this situation and this situation. And it just can't be a bunch of jokes. It's got to have some structure.
So it's really a different muscle from comedy where it's direct, it's you. There's lots of other elements that are going into it.
Yeah, it's, you know, the jokes are there and stuff, but you have to have a valid, you got to make it a story. It has to be a valid reason for that joke to be at that time to push the narrative along. And if it doesn't push the narrative along, is it funny enough to have a standalone? And if it's not, it's just at that point useless.
And then you also have been doing sketches and videos and stuff too. Can you say that?
Yeah, I made a couple little short sketches. I've written a couple other things. And then I'm learning kind of how to video edit better to, you know, kind of help myself with that, you know, mess around with the editing program.
Yeah, and how's that? Because I've been doing that too, and I'm learning that I hate it.
I'm kind of the opposite. I really enjoy it. I learned how to video edit through he doesn't do as much comedy now. He's one of my best friends. William Head is a video editor, and he taught me kind of the basics of video editing. So, you know, I kind of enjoy it. Just something to do. You can create a lot of jokes just through edits.
Okay. Can you tell me more about that? Because is that like your own jokes, or do you like merge different things into it?
You can merge different things. You can do a lot through the edits where it's like, it doesn't have to be the actual setup punch joke. You could do it through the edits and have it be a visual joke. You could do, you know, you could fuck with the timing through editing. It's kind of it almost allows you to kind of sit above and like, you know, pull the strings of like time.
Mm-hmm. And so and I don't want to call it a replacement for stand-up, but do you feel like it's an extension, or is this something that you didn't know that you had in you, or you've played around with it but just never had the time? I've
played around with it. Never really had a bunch of time. I mean, there's nothing that's going to replace actual stand-up. I think we're all trying. And I think it's a valiant effort, but I think ultimately there's, no matter what you do that's not stand-up, if you want to be doing stand-up, it's going to ultimately disappoint you.
It's a pacifier for the next thing until
Yeah,
you can get back on stage.
exactly. It's, you know, it's something cool. It's like, oh, cool, this is a nice thing that helps me do this, but it's not, you know, it's like when you at a restaurant, you want something and they don't have that, so you order something that's kind of like it. And you're like, oh, well, this is turkey. I want a chicken, but this is all right. This is okay. It's dry and shitty, but that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Dry and shitty. Has doing the Zoom shows or engaging in these other activities kind of changed how you view comedy at all?
Not particularly. I mean, it makes me really appreciate like someone who really gives a shit about producing a show. Because producing a Zoom show with an audience and getting is like, granted, I haven't produced a Zoom show, but I almost guarantee it's got to be at least 10 times harder than producing an actual show. Because it's, you know, you're competing with so many different things, you know, in a virtual world.
Yeah, and yet the responsibility isn't there either. So, you know, like there's so many, like I could do a Zoom show in a minute. Like I can hang up with you and say, hey guys, I have a Zoom show. You know, it's a bar is very low. So it's an interesting place to be.
Yeah, I think it's a low floor, high ceiling, like to run a good Zoom show where it's like, we just did this Zoom show and there's all these people who were not comics on the show. Like that's got to be really tough to convince people to tune in for a thing with people they've never heard of when they have a Netflix and PlayStation and all the other shit that they can do that's in that vein, and they just tune into a bunch of nobodies and hope they're funny.
Yeah. That should be the theme of a show. Tuning into nobodies and seeing
funny
if
nobodies.
Just we should just put it out there. How do you think the landscape of stand-up is going to change after this?
I think we'll, as comics, I think we're going to be a lot more appreciative, or at least I hope anyway, like of even shitty shows. Like it's just like, oh, there was only 10 people. It's like, that's fucking awesome. That's so many more people than many Zoom shows. Like that's awesome. You know, I think but hopefully. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think go ahead. You go.
I'm sorry. So that's the problem with dumb Zoom. There's that stupid. I think audiences are going to be better. I think they're going to want that human-to-human contact more when things are kind of settled a little bit. You know, and I think it might weed out like a lot of comics who may have only been doing it for like maybe a social outlet or something, or, you know, weren't really 100% into it. You know, this time off will weed that out. So you'll have a lot more motivated comics who are, you know, more pleasant to be around maybe.
Yeah, I was talking to Dina Ware, who's in San Jose. I don't know if you get up there as much, but we were talking about how, like, if there's less venues and there's only showcases, you know, open mics, like perhaps open mics will go on to Zoom, showcases slowly come back, and we'll have less shows with less comics hanging out because we need to keep it fewer people in there. Yeah. That it'll be like a comedy Darwinism.
That could totally.
What do you think would happen in that case? What do you think that would all look like?
I mean, I would hope the open mics wouldn't go on Zoom, because then you're going to have because ideally we all use open mics to work stuff out. And when you're just starting, all you do is open mics. So I hope that doesn't happen, because you're just going to have a generation of people who've only done Zoom open mics, and then they do live comedy. It's going to be, they're going to be like homeschool kids going to like a high school. It's going to be a social nightmare.
That's a really interesting analogy, and yeah, I think you're so. And so we're gonna have a generation, and like I always look at generations of comics as like 6 months, because within 6 months they quit. The ones who stay, it means a different thing for them. So that 6 month period is a generation to me. So you may have 1 to 2 to 3 generations in this by the time we can return back to normal stand-up, because normal stand-up is going to be the last phase of anything. So you're saying that it's going to be this weird thing of people who have had that open mic experience online, like the homeschool kids, and going into the high school with everyone else.
Oh yeah, I think there's a definite, there's a complete difference between, even if you're not getting laughs online compared to not getting laughs online doesn't really hurt. It's embarrassing, especially if you're like booked on a show or whatever, but it doesn't particularly hurt you. Getting laughs on stage in front of real people really, it really crushes your ego. It really annihilates that. So you're going to have a generation of people, excuse me, who aren't used to dealing with their ego being crushed, every third day. And that's, I don't know how that's going to work out for people, but it can't be particularly mentally healthy.
Yeah. So it'll be a process that they're going to go through in the same way that we did at the open mics, but they're going to do it at the showcases if they can only do open mics online.
Yeah, I don't even know how that would work, because then if you do an open mic online and then do well, then get booked on a showcase in real life, there's I don't know, I might be a big dummy because I'm not a tech guy, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of correlation. It seems like the material could correlate, but the energy and you being able to sell that material and the physicality and everything that's not the writing, it seems like would really suffer.
Let me ask you this. When you do Zoom mics, are you sitting down like you are now, or do you stand up?
I'm usually sitting down unless it's, I did one with the green screen one where we were, behind a green screen and we held a mic and stuff. But yeah, I'm just usually sitting down or, yeah.
How is that for you? Because you're not a sit down kind of comic guy.
It's different. I mean, I don't think I could fake the energy to stand up. I think that would make me feel gross, and it would be really, I think it would be really unfunny because it'd be really disingenuous.
Okay. And I think, and that's the thing that I think a lot of people appreciate about you is you're not disingenuous whatsoever. You want to wear shorts, you wear shorts. Yeah. That's Josh, right?
Yeah, I think it's, important in comedy to, be honesty is funny. And if you're, ultimately trying to be somebody that you're not, you might still be really funny, but you're not going to unlock that other level that you'd have by just being you.
Mm-hmm. And so, and that's where, for me, I've been trying to figure out who I am as on Zoom as a comic. It felt like I had a different voice.
Yeah.
And I think you are kind of hitting it on the head of if you're trying to be authentic and you're in your house, that's a different thing. Do you have other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's, if that's your thing, you're doing Zoom mics and standing up and you can do it, that's awesome. My hat is off to you. I am very jealous of that. I just can't, and that's, my own trip. But I think, I think it's very hard, especially, for energy and shit to have that over Zoom, where it seems like on Zoom shows, it's either people talking like a podcast, which I think is a lot better, of people just talking shit, or it's people running material very fast, which is not really funny. It's okay, I understand it, but it's, it's like working out at a hotel gym versus a real gym.
I don't understand what that means. Tell me.
It's in a real gym, you're going to get all the machines, all the weights, all the treadmill, everything you need. in like a hotel gym, you might get like a dumbbell and like a treadmill from like 1986. Like you're still going to get a little bit of a workout, but it's still, you're going to be like, fuck, I got to go take a walk.
Okay. Yeah. And so you feel that maybe the shows that are more interactive and relational, meaning that they go off on each other. Like I have a show and tell show that I should have you on.
Yeah,
I host with Mean Dave, and people just like show stuff, just like in grade school, and then we ask questions about it, and a lot of it is talking shit. So you feel that that's kind of like a more true or authentic way of comics engaging online?
I think online anyway, like I think especially with an audience, like I know just speaking as myself, if I was an audience member, I would rather watch a bunch of comics kind of talk shit and just be kind of who they are, like in a show, than running material on Zoom, which it might be funny, it might be awesome, but it just seems really weird, to do material on online during this. It's just odd. It's, it feels kind of disingenuous that you're, talking about whatever wacky horse shit and you're sitting at home on a computer. And it's like, man, just talk about what's going on. It'll be like the lunch table and you'll make it funny.
Yeah. Do you think our sensibilities, no, I want to ask this first. Do you feel motivated at all? Like, because you're doing stuff, so you are motivated to work on your craft. So how do you become motivated to do that? Or did it take a while? What was your process there?
I think it takes a while. Like it comes and goes for me. Like I usually would do a lot of stuff, but with this, it really comes and goes. Like when this first started, I didn't think it was going to be this long. So I was like, you know what? It might be a month. I'm going to go into my car every third day and I'm going to run my act like a psychopath alone in my car. And then after that month, it's like, now I'm just really sad and depressed. But yeah.
I would have done anything to have seen you do that in your car.
Oh, boy.
Oh, that's wonderful. Do you think going through the quarantine and COVID itself, like part of my question about why I'm doing all these interviews is I have looked up to see if our sensibilities around humor changed like after the Spanish flu. Did people go to a dark place? Did they want comedy? Did they not? Like, what was that? And because stand-up comedy, this is our first worldwide pandemic. I mean, we had AIDS and many communities went through that. But as a profession, if you say Mort Saul was the first modern stand-up comic, we are brand new at this. We did not have the Black Plague. No. And so do you think our sensibilities around humor will change? Do you think we'll be more offended, less offended, darker, not darker, puppy dogs and rainbows?
I think honestly, I think it'll be about the same as it is right now. I don't think this will change our sensibilities. I think people who come out to shows will not want to like have this like COVID talked about as much. I think maybe address it at the beginning, like, hey, that was odd, and then go into shit. Nobody, I think I was watching Patton Oswalt on an interview yesterday, and he was like, yeah, nobody wants to hear 15 hot takes on the COVID. Nobody wants that, People just want to be entertained, and that's not entertaining.
Yeah, well, and I was just talking to a guy in Ireland, and like Ireland, they had a week of Tiger King there, just like we had a week of Tiger King here. It's like the same thing, and they're even more quarantined than we are. So it's a different thing there, and it's not because it's worse there. It's because they're like, we want to save all of our people. So it's a different thing. And so he was saying that like it's the pandemic jokes kind of get flushed out on Facebook
Yeah.
Everyone's heard them. There's nothing new.
No.
But do you think people will, like, I was thinking about it, like, if people's lives can be impacted, like, it's both their life and their livelihood can be impacted. That's like the base of Maslow's hierarchy. So if you don't have those things in place, do you think that people will, like, want to go to a darker place or be less offended, more offended? What do you think?
I honestly think it's going to be the same, like, offensive level. I don't think people are going to go, oh, it's after the pandemic, I need some edge. I think it's going to be the same. I don't think people are going to want softballs either. I think it's, it's going to be less about the pandemic and more about whatever time we're living in. Like, it's 2020. We're not going to go back to ridiculous, like, racial slur offensive shit. But we're also not going to go back to, nobody swearing and everybody pretending terrible shit doesn't exist. I think it'll stay the same.
Yeah. And so how do you feel about performing to a club that has 25% occupancy?
I am 100% down. Like, at this point, I think we're all 100% down to be like, oh, what is there? Normally 50, there's 10. I don't care. Like, just let's do something with actual humans.
Yeah. It's because different counties are opening in different ways. Is Humboldt opening up sooner than us in like Alameda?
Humboldt just opened up a little bit for its restaurants, and they noticed a spike, so the mayor shut that shit down real quick, which is really admirable. Sonoma County's opening up a little bit, and people are acting like asses, and it's infuriating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so people are starting to come out, but then they're like breathing on each other. They're not wearing masks. They're not handling these. It's like we have to flush out that too.
Yeah, that's their own trip, and that's and I get it, but selfishly, I look at it and go, well, fuck, man, it just adds another week that we're not gonna be able to go to Punchline. Like, it pisses me. I was like, oh, did you need to have your fun noodles today? Like, god damn it.
Yeah. Oh. Yes. And I think that is the Josh Argyle perspective I would want to hear more about, because I imagine there's a lot of irritation there, and I miss that. Okay, what if anything has the quarantine or COVID taught you about the art or the profession of stand-up comedy?
I think it taught me that it's a thing that I like. Y'all, obviously we all do this because we love it. But I think it really taught me that I really love it and value it for itself. I don't and I think you're kind of in the same boat as me, and we're lucky that we have people in our lives that we spend the day with. So comedy isn't a social outlet, which I think is a big deal. Because if if I was alone, yeah, I'd probably be doing every Zoom open mic under the sun just to see other human beings. But to know that it's like, yeah, I really miss it, and not because I just miss other humans. I miss telling jokes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there anything that I should have asked you that you want to talk about?
No, I'm whatever you want.
Okay. So nothing else that we should have covered. I'm trying to think.
Well, yeah.
Yeah?
No, I got nothing. I got a big bag of nothing.
Okay. So is there anything you would like to plug? Anything that you have out in the world that you hope people find?
Oh, jeez. Go to as many, if you're a person who's not a comic listening there that are watching this, go to as many Zoom shows and try to make those not the worst. And, I got nothing to plug, but
you have like some YouTube stuff, right?
Yeah, I have a YouTube video. Me and me and my girlfriend did. It's called PSA, Quarantine PSA. So you can check that out. It's just a dumb couples video we did. It's like 1.5 minutes long.
Okay. And did you ever get an album out?
I made like years ago, I made like a little mixtape. It was mostly from my buddies back home who couldn't make like the couple 100-mile drive.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you were one of the few comics in San Francisco that could bring an audience, and that audience was nowhere, like they were all from your home in Humboldt.
Yeah, people up north will drink, especially if, and they drive for anybody, who's funny, like if, they care. Like, have you been to the Savage Henry Club up north?
You're like a god there.
Nice guys.
Yeah.
But people up there just love it.
It's a great club. And that's a place that I think could open up and could be okay.
Yeah, they got, there's nothing to do up there. There's, people love people love human contact up there. Everything's far away, so it's tough to make an excuse to get out and see shit. So
yeah, well, I hope you can return there very, very soon, as well as Santa Rosa. And here, I think you'll probably not be able to come back as soon. But I hope to see you and appreciate you all the time. But
appreciate you.
So, okay, Josh, take care.
You too. Thank you for having me. This has been awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.